Hello, everyone. So today I was watching an interesting little speech that RFK was giving, and it was on the topic of Bill Gates and dark money donations. In this speech, and again, it depends how you look at it in legal terms, and let's say definitions of words. That always comes into play when you're talking about legal matters and indictments and all of that stuff. But essentially, what RFK was saying was that Bill Gates donated $50 million to the Harris campaign. And he did this because Trump was a type of candidate that they needed to defeat, that the world was in so much peril because Donald Trump was going to become president, or there was so much danger coming because of Donald Trump, that if he won, there was going to be a disaster in the world, some sort, right? I mean, there's a lot of fear mongers. We all know what's coming or what's going, depending on what side of the spectrum you're on, is what kind of issues the person's going to tell everybody's coming based on what kind of candidate. I mean, personally, from my standpoint, and again, if you tell somebody who you vote for, they're going to peg you as conservative or they're going to peg you as Democrat. For me, what I always told everybody is, I want to vote for someone that the system itself does not want in there. Because if the system doesn't want them, then there's a reason that person needs to be there. Because I don't want the system to continue the way it has been for the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, I don't think where we as a society are at anywhere where we want to be. And I think you could agree with that. Whatever side of the spectrum you're on, I think you can agree. We all believe that politically, economically, socially, personally, financially, personally, on a social scale, we all think that life, society should be somewhere else than it is now. And a lot of the time, I think leaders are the ones that we could point fingers at. And I think a lot of the reason why we're not where we expect to be is because of our leaders. To us, they paint this picture, this theater, that there are these amazing people that are going to change the world. And to me, it's hard for me to believe any politician is going to change anything. But I do want somebody in there that's going to disrupt stuff, a disruptor. And I think that's why I'm in the position that out of what the options we had, Trump is that individual that's going to disrupt. Now, moving forward with what RFK said, and getting back to the $50 million donation by Bill Gates to the Harris campaign, personally stated that he stayed out of politics for the last 20 years or so. I don't believe that. I think none of you believe that, especially witnessing how influential or how much of a persona he was during the whole COVID era and pushing vaccines and pushing, messing with the DNA of mosquitoes and releasing those into Florida so that people don't get malaria. When I think the majority of people that deal with malaria are in Africa and India, definitely not over here in Florida, but whatever, right? I mean, you can't trust these people. There's always a hidden agenda because all of this that's going on in this capitalism is a financial motive. And I think everybody's aware of that. I mean, I think that's why so many people sided with the assassin of the healthcare CEO, or at least somewhat are like accepting of what he did, because we're all fed up with the just financial gains of a small group of people at the cost of all of us, especially once they start putting in algorithms so that there's a certain amount of denial of healthcare going to individuals. We all think that's ridiculous. Again, back to Bill Gates, back to what he's involved in. And the reason this is interesting, and the whole reason I'm even posting about this subject, is the Netherlands themselves stated that Bill Gates and a number of other people, there's a lot of names, I believe there's 14 either individuals or companies within this case that's going to be heard in the Supreme Court of the Netherlands about the COVID vaccine and the misinformation. I think that's interesting in itself, right? Because for the longest time, if anybody was against any sort of RNA vaccine or a vaccine against COVID, you were some sort of truther or some sort of conspiracy theorist or some sort of, mentally deranged person looking for algorithms in a reality that just don't exist. But as we're slowly evolving away from that whole COVID era, there seems to be a public outcry and even a political outcry to hold some people responsible. Although I do believe a lot of this is public theater, because they'll probably just fine them $1 million or something, but they'll never be held fully responsible for what they actually did and the actual harm they did, and they'll never apologize. And again, what's an apology, right? When you saw so many thousands of people die, so many thousands and millions of people compromised by something they believed was medication. And again, you can't talk about it and you can't state it because there's one world that has all the facts, right? They're the ones that know everything, yet everything they knew caused a lot of problems for this world, going and moving forward away from the pandemic. They changed definitions. They changed what we as society accept as truth or not truth. It's just led us in a terrible path and a conflict against each other, and seeded a lot of doubt. A lot of this, like this conversation and these videos that I'm doing, I want to just open up ideas and thoughts and discuss them. Eventually, if the viewership grows enough and the comments grow enough, we can have full-fledged discussions in the comment section, and you never know. YouTube might even allow for us to have like video discussions back and forth. Maybe something like a live one day would be interesting as well, if a lot of people were interested. But anyways, I feel like it's nice that there's an international community also wanting these perpetrators that were involved in a lot of the, the vaccines, we'll call them vaccines, just to change it up so, my video doesn't get flagged. But a lot of these people that perpetrated this medicine and claimed it as a cure to help people, but it caused a lot of harm as well. There's a lot moving forward internationally and domestically to hold a lot of these people responsible. Or at the very least, which I find really important, starting a conversation and saying that there is no absolute truth, which is a weird thing, right? Because that's what science teaches us. There is no absolute truth. We're supposed to be constantly challenging the narrative and challenging what we see as truth. But a lot of that's just been erased moving forward. I mean, in our past. Hopefully moving forward, that's going to change. Hopefully moving forward, we're going to be able to talk, not scream at each other, not yell at each other, not fight. None of that. Like, that kind of drama never solves anything, and nobody hears each other when we talk like that. It's about really letting the people that know how to speak well bring those amazing thoughts to the forefront and let those thoughts fight amongst themselves and leave the best one standing. Anyways, I just found it really interesting that the Netherlands is going to be holding Bill Gates and a few corporations liable in some sort of form of way for the misinformation that was done during the pandemic.